Well, good morning, and we are glad to be here today. As you know, this is the Eureka Symphony Orchestra under the direction of Carol Jacobson, and we're happy to be playing several wonderful pieces of music for you this morning. But right now, let's meet the orchestra. What a great sound. The symphony orchestra has been around for nearly 300 years, gradually growing and changing. There are 4 families of instruments here: strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. Now let's listen to these instruments in more detail. The string section is at the heart of the orchestra, and there are more violins than any other instruments. The violin can play singing melodies, but can also play with brilliance and dramatic flair. The violins are divided into 2 sections. While the first violins usually play the higher, more melodic lines, the second violins often provide a harmonic accompaniment like this. Now notice how that second violin part helps to support a melodic line in the first violins. Violins can play many different types of music, slow and sad, or happy and playful, like this lively fiddle tune. The viola looks similar to the violin, but is a bit larger. It speaks with a deeper, more somber voice. Much bigger than the violin or the viola is the cello. Sometimes it plays a supporting role. But it is also quite expressive when playing a melody. The biggest and lowest sounding instrument of all the strings is the bass, sometimes called the double bass or the bull fiddle. One member of the string family does not use a bow, the graceful harp. It is played with the fingers directly plucking the strings. The woodwind family of instruments is composed of flutes, oboes, clarinets, and bassoons. The flute, which is now made of metal instead of wood, can play either low and soft or very high and fast. The oboe is a double reed instrument. Two very thin pieces of bamboo vibrate together to start the sound. The oboe sometimes has a sad and melancholy sound. The clarinet is slightly larger than the oboe and can play higher and lower, and with great agility. The deep-voiced bassoon is the largest and lowest sounding of the woodwinds. Sad music or happy, it can play both. The brass family is the heavy artillery of the orchestra. From the brilliance of the trumpets and trombones to the more mellow sounds of the horns and tuba, when these instruments play, everyone listens. French horns were the first brass instruments added to the orchestra. Trumpets are often used for their brilliant and commanding presence. The noble-sounding trombone was first used in church music and came into the orchestra much later. The tuba is the largest of the brass instruments. It comes in several sizes and provides a mellow foundation for the whole brass section. The players of the percussion section have the most fun, I think. They play drums, cymbals, and all sorts of other things. Three very standard percussion instruments in the modern orchestra include the big bass drum, the edgy snare drum, and the brilliant crashing cymbals. These instruments are of indefinite pitch, but other instruments in the percussion section have very exact tuning, just like the rest of the orchestra, such as the timpani, the chimes, and the high-pitched glockenspiel. Now that you have met each instrument individually, let's hear again how wonderful they sound when playing all together.